Hello again. Excuse me. And welcome to our book study on the magic of thinking big. This week we're going to be discussing chapter 3, which is building confidence and destroying fear, which is interesting because I had never thought of those two as being two sides of a coin.
Mhm.
Confidence and fear, that confidence is what it takes to overcome fear. So, and I think it puts the lie to feel the fear and do it anyway in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Um,
And as we go through this, he talks a lot about action, which we talked about in um, chapter 1, you know, most importantly, to take action.
mhm.
But I don't know if he talked about it in chapter 1 or if it's just because we've done so many books together. But the more action you take, the greater your confidence becomes. And so it does
Yes,
make sense, you know,
yes.
and the more confident we are, the less afraid we are, right? Like I've done 475 million Facebook lives. So
Mhm.
I have zero fear there, but I know for a lot of people, like their heart starts racing and they're like, like to do a Facebook live, like is hard. Like I literally can hit live at any moment and start talking and never think twice about it. But it's because I've done 450,000 live
Mhm.
videos. It was the taking action. I'm not confident that my live is going to resonate with lots of people, but I am
Mhm.
confident in my ability to hit the live button and say what's on my heart.
Yeah,
That you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And so
Mhm.
I think that's where it's, that's the confidence is I know I'm going to speak honestly. I don't ever have any fear of people calling me fake or inauthentic or any of those things, which I think can be very hurtful. Now, does it hit
Mhm.
home with somebody? I don't have any confidence that it will because I can't control other people,
Right,
but
right.
so, um,
Well, and I think that's a big part of it. Jumping ahead a little bit on page 54, when he lists the type of fear and the action to take. Um, and now I've forgotten what my connection was to what you said, but I guess that you have to take the appropriate action for your fear. I'm sorry. What was the last thing you said, Christy?
I think my guess is it was probably number 6, probably is what you were connecting to. Cause I
Oh,
was talking
yes.
about, I may not connect with everybody, but I don't have any fear of people accusing me of being inauthentic or fake, whether they take nuggets from what I share. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but I know what it was. It was also fear of things totally beyond your control.
Oh,
You
yes,
can't
not
control other people's reactions.
correct.
All you can do is control your own behavior and your own attitude and how you react to their reaction.
Yeah, correct.
So, which is a good story in here. Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. There's a good
So, um, any particular takeaways y'all want to discuss with regard to this chapter?
There's so many good ones. I think almost we just kind of go through it.
Okay.
Uh,
It is very good. It's a very good chapter. I think
I
we could
like
spend more than one session on this.
this is a really good chapter, especially for what we do for a living. Um,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, I do like his story, where the guy, um, I don't know if he works in a department store or what, merchandise manager, or
Mhm.
anyway, his numbers are down. He's worried he's going to get fired. Store numbers are up as a whole, but his department is down. So he's certain he's going to get fired. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? Well, I hope I don't get fired. Okay, well, that's not enough. What action are you going to take to correct the situation? And I think
Right.
that is in regardless of what anybody does for a living, what if there's something you don't like, what action are you going to take? It, I didn't add a single customer in, new customer in Plexus last month. That's probably the first time in 3 years that I haven't added a customer. And there's no excuses. I know that I didn't take any of the actions that I normally take or would take to grow my business. Right. And for whatever the reasons are, don't matter. I have to own the fact that I didn't do the things. I also gained 5 pounds. Well, the action and you got to look at it both ways, right? The action I took to gain 5 pounds was eating almost a pint of ice cream almost every night.
Yeah, that'll do it.
5 pounds, right? So sometimes you can look at the opposite. If you're like, oh, I don't even know what to do to change. Well, sometimes it's as easy as doing the opposite of what you did to get you in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, it's, hey, I got
Stop
a
eating
wedding,
ice cream.
great dress I got to fit in on June 1st. And so that for me means no sugar in May, like no, making sure my workouts are solid. Like, if I was kind of half-assing my workouts, well, the opposite of that is work the heck out, get a sweat. And so I think sometimes you can look at the opposite of what got you into a negative spot.
Yeah. Sounds like it's time for 31 hard for you.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm totally, Stacy Port reached out to me when she saw my post today and she said, we're doing 75 hard. You want to join us? And I said, no, I'm committed to 30 hard because I know on days 31 and 32, which are rehearsal and wedding, I won't do it. And the way 75 hard works is if you miss one thing on one day, you start from scratch. So I'm like, no, but 30 hard I got. On day 33, might I start back and then do 75 hard? Maybe, because I have a marathon to train for. So it would make sense. But I know the rules of that game. So I'm like, no, I've got 30 hard. And watch.
Okay. There you go. There you go. So, yeah, that was a good story about the guy in sales, the merchandising manager. And I even underlined the part where the author told him, quit acting like a drowning man. Let people around you know that you're still alive.
Yeah.
And then as the story went on and the man came back with his results to having taken action, he says about his salespeople, they were just waiting for me to start things moving again.
Mm-hmm.
And I could so relate to that in our business. And I made a note in the margin that leaders have to lead.
100%. And your upline needs to know you're engaging again. Because coming from a Jewel perspective, we really do want to help everybody. But when we try to help and people don't do anything, we stop trying to help because we want to focus our time on people who do want to dig in, who are taking our lead, who are doing things we suggest they do, participating in contests, whatever. And so sometimes it's like I have a level 4 on my team that reached out 2 weeks ago and was like, I'm coming back. Like, she's never stopped taking her products, but dropped a lot in rank and points and asked for one-on-one coaching again, because that's what we did to get her senior Ruby. It was every week we were on a call together going through stuff. But I'm not going to keep hounding. I stopped hounding them a long time ago. I want every so often I'll reach out and go, hey, you need anything from me? No, we're good. Okay.
Right.
And that's kind of what we do when we're at this level and have so many people. And so, but the second somebody says, hey, I want help, then we dig back in. And that's a kind of across the board how I think most Jewels are.
Well, Similar to what I said earlier, I think before we started the recording, I feel like my sponsor is probably tired of hearing me say, okay, yeah, I'm going all in, only to not go all in. So I feel like I need to show rather than tell.
Well, and I think what you could do is all in means something different to everybody,
Mhm.
right? Your
It's
all
a
in is
big
going to be my all in and different than Gina's all in. Um, I think instead, what you could do is create a list, much like, I don't know if you saw my Facebook post this morning, or of like, these are the things I commit to do every day in May. Boom, 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 boom. You guys are all welcome to hold me accountable for all of May. And make a list of what you can commit to doing, you know, every day in May. And then send that to your upline and say, I would love some accountability with these. If you do want accountability from them, say, feel
Mhm.
free to check me every day. Or if it's okay with you, I'm going to send you my list each day. Can we have just a Facebook chat going? And I'm going to send you my list each day to show you that I've done it, because that's proof is in the pudding. You may think it's, well, once I sign 3 people, she'll know I'm on board. But sometimes you have to, oftentimes, because the sales cycle is 90 days, you have to do all those things for 90 days before results come. Well, if you're not getting the support on day 55, might not make it to day 90.
Yeah.
And if you give her permission to follow up with you if you miss 2 days in a row, well, that's going to keep you more accountable and on your toes. It's going to show her, on day 3 when she checks in on you because you didn't send anything the last 2 days. And if you come in with excuses, are you coming with excuses, or are you coming with, oh, I forgot to send you where I checked it off and who I reached out to? Be specific in what you're willing to do this month.
Is that on your page or on Gold Diggers?
What I just said,
Oh, your checklist.
there's not one. I made
What
that.
you said that you posted and asked for accountability.
Just on my personal page,
Okay.
because it wasn't Plexus related at all. It was just like health and
Right.
sanity. I have a feeling the next 30 days leading up to the wedding are going to get more bananas every single day. I'm going to be like banana pudding by June 1st instead of a green banana.
Oh, but banana pudding's better than the green banana.
I know.
But that's on your page. Okay.
But yeah,
I just wanted to know where to go and get some ideas.
Really, to make sure I stay sane and fit in my dress. And so for you, for Plexus, it would be, there's a million IPA sheets out there. I have a million. There's a million in Gold Diggers. Like, decide what you feel like will work for you this month, knowing what kind of month you have, right? Like, I'm not shooting for any like high point goals this month when I know the same as last month, most of my focus is going to be on, again, 90 days cycle, right? So the month that we moved here was February. The month Rob's grandparents died, February. The month, like everything, February. So now it went February where I did nothing for Plexus, really, right? Like, I didn't have calls, right? We didn't, like, I did nothing. So February, March, I still added people. April, added 0. It's a 90-day cycle.
Mhm.
Right? And so because I kept doing some stuff later, it won't continue, right? I'm certain that I will sign somebody or multiple people in May, because I kind of started to pick myself back up. But it's safe to say that in February, I didn't reach out to anybody. I didn't check on anybody. I didn't care what anybody was doing. I was just like, treading water.
Right.
And so you have to look at those things also. And so I have to look at May and go, what are my May goals? Knowing I'm going to DC for a week. And then the whole last week of May, I'm going to be in Nashville setting everything up. And then on June 1st, my kid is getting married. So count me out for 2 weeks. What is my May going to look like? What will I commit to? It's going to look different than in June when we go to convention and we're fired up and we're, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So be realistic. And that's sometimes why IPA sheets, they keep you on track in taking action. But I think if it comes to being accountable to yourself and keeping promises to yourself, be realistic about what you're going to be able to do on that month. And it's May 1st. So it's a perfect time to set goals and
Mhm.
decide what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. So, okay. Let's see.
he then kind of at the end of the top of 55 after 1 and 2, he talks about the hesitation only enlarges, magnifies the fear. Take action promptly and be decisive. I didn't underline it, but there's a part. Oh, down here. Did you underline or dig into this part at all where he's talking to Mr. Teller? Let me withdraw some thoughts I deposited. Like, talk to me about what you thought about that, because I really loved that. With my mindset focus on everything, I loved this so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, this is really huge. Actually, what I thought about in the course of this was my brother, who remembers nothing positive from our childhood. And I get that it's hard to find, but it's there. There is good stuff in our childhood. But yeah, and it also reminded me about the story of the person who spills the hot coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why did you spill the coffee? Because coffee is what was in the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like what you put in is what you get out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I made some notes on that. We do tend to dwell on what goes wrong. The stuff that goes right just kind of glides on by because that's what we expect. And so we dwell on the stuff that goes wrong, and then we run around and we tell people, would you believe what happened to me? This is what happened to me. Isn't that terrible? And I read somewhere, and this was years ago, that like when something goes wrong, we tend to tell like 17 people. But when something goes right, we might tell one.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard that, but I believe it. I mean, that's kind of the way we, it's like we're always looking for sympathy and to be made to feel better when something's bad.
Yeah, that's probably it. But he
And
commented in here somewhere also saying that, yeah, your mind wants you to forget the unpleasant. And I thought, really? Really? It's on page 60. But
well,
then I thought, we do forget pain.
I think part of going back to where you said we only tell one person the good.
Mhm.
I dare say that is because as children and as humans, we've been trained not to brag. And too often we feel like, especially women, that sharing our wins is bragging. And I think the pivot in that is it bragging or is it inspiring other women to step up and celebrate their wins also? Because if I'm celebrating my wins, I'm now subconsciously giving you permission to share your wins as well.
Mhm.
That
Right.
takes courage for some women to
It
really be
does.
able to step
And
out and even follow the bar. It's very hard.
yeah, and women, and like if you read, like if you go on LinkedIn, you know, it's all about work successes and things, and men have no problem putting all their wins and successes and promotions and everything on there. But if you notice a lot of time on women, you know, when we're posting in Facebook and something great happened, we'll say, I don't want to brag, but I just want to share. It's like we preface it with, please don't be mad at me for sharing my wins, you know,
Mhm.
when really, if you really love me and I post just lost 12 pounds, you should just really be excited for me.
Right.
It
Yeah.
shows
Join in the
I can't
celebration.
12 pounds, or she probably, it's just water. It's just this, it's that, you know, like, what if you just were happy for the person sharing their wins?
Mhm.
It's
But I
not a
think,
time to judge anybody.
yeah. And so I think that's part of why it's natural to share the negatives, but not natural to share the positives. And maybe just we're the change, you know, because
Yeah.
if you share with one of your friends something great that happened, their mind might go to something great that happened for them as well.
Mhm.
You know, I make it a point of asking people, like, what was your win today? Like, give people the opportunity to celebrate good stuff.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
need permission.
And I wish we didn't, but too often women do. They seek that permission to celebrate the goodness. But you know who they don't have a problem shouting out? Their
Their
children.
husbands. Oh,
Celebrate yourself as often as you celebrate your kids,
Right.
you know?
yeah. That's good. Um, okay, I have started trying to do this, although not thoroughly, because actually when I got back into this chapter again today, I was like, is this where I read that in the first place? On page 57, it's in the right before the section number 2, withdraw only positive thoughts. So this is at the tail end of the part of deposit only positive thoughts.
Mhm.
Just before you go to sleep, deposit good thoughts in your memory bank. Count your blessings. Recall the many good things you have to be thankful for. Your wife or husband, your children, your friends, your health. Recall the good things you saw people do today. Recall your little victories and accomplishments. Go over the reasons why you are glad to be alive. So I have a few times this week as I'm lying in bed at night, especially if I catch my mind starting to spiral off into all the places it likes to go when I'm trying to go to sleep. I'll say, nope, stop. What am I thankful for? And I'll just start listing things in my mind that I'm thankful for. And that's usually the last thing I remember until I wake up in the morning.
Well, you know what this is? It's
Gratitude
gratitude.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
you know, this was written in the 50s, but in the 80s, Oprah was telling us to keep a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
And Brendon Burchard, these days, he has a planner, the winning, I don't know, I forget what it's called, but I have some of them that I've used. And part of the planner is in the middle, when you open to a page and your book's open like this, it's got the hours here where you put
Mhm.
your schedule. But on the left hand side, you start with listing off like 3 things you need to get done today and blah blah blah. But at the very end, and you're supposed to fill this side out in the morning and then this side out at night, and it ends with list 3 wins. And that's how you're supposed to end every night. So
Mhm.
when it's coming from so many really smart, successful people,
Mhm. I believe we need to do it.
Yeah.
it's clearly working, right?
Right.
If it
Right.
was said, it was said in the 80s and it's said in the 2020s by uber successful people,
Mhm.
it's not even a fad. You know, we're 70 years into smarty pants people telling us to keep a gratitude journal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the piece of it that I realized that I'm not doing is specifically focusing on good things that happened that day. But I am at least recalling things that I'm thankful for, my husband, my home, my health,
Mhm.
those kinds of things, instead of letting my brain spiral off in the negative directions and worry about things that did go wrong or things that could go wrong, things I
So
didn't get done.
I just had to dig for this, which means I haven't used it in a minute. But these little bitty spirals
Mm.
are really great. I used to keep it in my purse, but this is what I'll pull out. Like if I'm not doing well, I really should. My goal is always to pull it out every day and just to have it sitting on my desk, but to write my gratitudes in. And if you got something small like this, you could add to it throughout the day and then you could read it at night to be reminded. Because let's be honest, sometimes something really great happens at 8 a.m. and then the day goes to shit. And by 9 p.m., we're just like, ugh.
I
And this
don't
day,
even have time for that.
right?
Is what it comes up to.
Yeah. So if you had something small like this, where you
Mhm.
just, and it can be as simple as my hydrangeas are blooming. I got the prettiest bushes outside right now.
Mhm.
To me, that's acknowledging God at work.
Mhm. We got
They
2
don't
inches
have,
of rain.
Yeah.
they don't have to be big.
No.
Oh, I
No.
got my toenails painted today. Man, I feel like $1,000,000.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. So,
little things.
but because this can even go in your purse, it can travel with you. This
Mhm.
isn't a big thing in
Yeah,
the way.
I have one like that somewhere. I'll have to dig it out. I
Yeah.
have one of those Brendan Bouchard journals too. It's something about performance.
High performance habits.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yep.
he's a performance guy.
So that's, but okay. So we're going to start focusing on depositing positive memories in our
And
memory bank.
right, the more you deposit, the more you have to withdraw from.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, so then on to the next page, what one remembers from the past colors what one sees in the present, which is, that thought takes me back to my brother and how he really doesn't have positive memories from the past. So when things don't go his way, which they frequently don't,
That's what he
he's
expects, though. We get
right,
what we expect, and
right.
what we talk about is what we bring to us. And that's
Well, and
what
I have even done something like this with him. Say we'll be on the phone and he's going down that negative rabbit hole about this and this and this and this and this. Say, tell me something that's gone right for you in the last week,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of pull him back out of it.
what does
So,
he look for? What we look for is very obvious in our life.
well, exactly. On
Page.
page 58,
Yep.
it is clear that any negative thought, if fertilized with repeated recall, can develop into a real mind monster,
Hmm.
breaking down confidence and paving the way to serious psychological difficulties. There it is. And this guy's a PhD.
Yep.
Yeah, he has such a beautiful, really giving heart. And there's no condemnation in anything he says. There's just so much room to grow
Mhm.
and to begin to take on what he wants us to take on. And, you can really, when you feel that, it's easier to do.
Yeah.
So,
So, um, okay. So starting to move into the next section, he says fear of other people is a big fear, but there is a way to conquer it. You can conquer fear of people if you will learn to put them into proper perspective.
mhm.
And he tells the story about his friend who was who joined the army in World War II, and he was talking about all the men coming through recruitment and at the induction center. And it hit me because I noticed that point. I noticed it last time too, and I noticed it again today. He says all those men lined up by the hundreds, naked as jaybirds, looked so much alike. Oh, sure, there were fat ones and skinny ones, tall ones and short ones, but they were all confused, all were lonesome. Just a few days before, some of these men were rising young executives, some were farmers, some were salesmen, drifters, blue collar workers. And what hit me is because they were naked as jaybirds, you couldn't tell what they had been in their previous life.
And
And I got
because
to thinking,
they weren't standing with confidence, right? Like when you're clothed, like he talks about, I don't know if it's before this or after this, where confident people walk faster. You know, they themselves carry themselves different. And I think that's accurate. But if you take all my clothes off and stand me with 100 people, I am not.
Yeah.
Shoulders back,
Yeah.
head high, where you want me to go next. Confident. I
Right.
am scared. And I
Right.
am just like the
Well,
person.
yeah. And I hadn't even thought about it so much from the vulnerability angle. I just thought we place so much emphasis on what to wear and how to look. You know, I get that question from people who are, and it's not even downline, but just people who are going to convention for the first time. And I remember having a dream about it before I went to convention the first time, about how to dress.
Mm-hmm.
But there's history there because my mom was a Mary Kay consultant. And when you went to Mary Kay seminar, you wore business suits and high heels.
And they still do. My aunt is in Mary Kay, and they're still in their coats, and they always have their pin. And
Mhm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So I literally had a dream about it before the first time I went to convention.
And the amazing thing about convention is how diverse
Mhm.
people who show up are, not just in their clothing, but in their size, in their attitude. There is so much diversity. Like, even when I was brand new to Plexus, I mean, I'm an overdresser, always have been. Like my mom wore jean overalls and t-shirts everywhere, always. That's how she dressed. No makeup, short curly hair. And I always wanted the dresses and wanted the bows. And so for me, anytime I go anywhere, that's a reason for me to get new clothes and be dressed up. Right. That's not putting on airs to me. That's how I feel comfortable. But
Mhm.
there are people just as confident and comfortable, in jeans and a t-shirt or in their workout clothes. I'll never forget, they had at last Emerald Extravaganza, they had Kinley Severance come up and speak. And she's the one who has won every contest since she joined last year. And so she's already a diamond, but she earned Emerald literally in July, had only started selling like in March or April, earned Emerald Extravaganza by hitting it July 31st. And that was last July. And she went diamond a couple months ago. So, but they had her come up and speak. And y'all, she literally wore bike shorts and an oversized t-shirt and flip-flops to speak to us at Emerald Extravaganza. And I was like,
okay, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do
But
that either. She was like, you guys, I'm doing this by just staying true to who I am. This is who I am. I'm a hairdresser. I like casual clothes. I got toddlers. I'm not wearing, I don't wear heels. I don't wear dresses. I cut hair and chase my toddlers around. And I was just like, okay. Oh, okay. So it really is like, what's going to make you feel comfortable, and be that, not just a convention, but wherever you go. I mean, Saturday was my nephew's birthday party. and I wore a dress, not a fancy dress, like a super comfortable dress. And my sister-in-law said, "Why are you so dressed up?" And I was like, "I'm actually just super comfortable. And this dress doesn't wrinkle and it makes for less clothes in my suitcase." And she goes, "I just didn't know why you were so dressed up." She was in her Nike running shorts and a t-shirt. And I was like, "I'm just actually super comfortable." Did it bother me that everybody else was in gym clothes and I was in a dress? It didn't. That's who
No.
I, you know?
Mhm.
And so my thing, just be who you are. There are some people that, like my stepmother-in-law, it's my husband's stepmom, but for the tea party I threw for Emily for her shower, she was like, "Do I have to wear a dress? Like, I can't, there's no way I can put on a dress, a tea party type dress with flowers." And I was like, "No, wear whatever you want to wear." It's, but it does give us comfort, I think, to feel pretty, and
Mm.
everybody feels pretty in something else. Like,
Right.
there are people with all different body shapes wearing nothing but their leggings and sports bra at the gym. There are some I think you should maybe put a tank top on, but that's,
That might.
I wouldn't just wear a sports bra, but they're just as comfortable doing their thing. I'm like, "You go, girl."
Yeah, what matters is they're at the gym.
Yeah, they're at the gym and they feel their head is high and they're doing the thing. That's all that matters. I love it.
Yeah. So, but just that was what struck me in this particular story is, and it made me think, okay, because you hear that thing about if you're going to have to speak in public, they tell you to imagine everyone in their underwear.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was just for humor, but really it's to remind you that we're all the same,
Yeah.
in certain extents, we are all the same.
Yeah.
And we have the same feelings, they just come out in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, but we all feel vulnerable when we're naked.
Oh, yeah. That's a common feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
I
given.
said something in one of my classes one time. I said something about how we all have dreams about being naked in public. And and this is in front of a room of teenagers, and some of them looked at me and said, "I don't." I was like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Or if you haven't yet, you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were like, naked in public.
That's
So,
frightening.
okay. So this is the point then when he goes into the 5 behaviors to adopt. Get a balanced view of the other fellow. I think this is the 5. Maybe this, I don't know. No, I guess he's not into that yet, but get a balanced view of the other person. Recognize that they have hopes and dreams and fears and vulnerabilities. They may be different than what yours are, but they have hopes and dreams and vulnerabilities. And develop an understanding attitude. And he tells the story about the hotel clerk and the guy who goes off on him about they had a single room for him and he insists he reserved a double. And he says, "I'm sorry, sir, we were just following your directions. It clearly says here that you reserved a single, whatever." And the clerk just maintained his equilibrium, his equanimity, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And the other guy blew his stack and, "You've lost my business," and whatever, and stormed out. And the author then was the next guy in line. He says, "I don't know how you handled that so well." And he says, "Oh, he's probably a really nice guy most of the
Yes.
time."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Takes a lot to look at things like that. He's
So,
confident
just
in himself, or he would not have been able to make that comment about the other guy.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure it was also training in
Mhm.
his job.
I would agree with
As a hotel clerk, people are going to throw a fit if things aren't the way they expect. Not everyone, but a lot of people will, and they'll, I think this person, I think he even did do you know who I am? Or maybe I saw that someplace else recently, but anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure he clearly considers himself superior to this lowly hotel clerk. And so that's why he's, getting angry and expressing his anger. And the clerk just lets it roll off.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have used some more of that sometimes when dealing with irate parents while I was teaching.
I bet.
So there was one that after she hung up on me, I had to walk out of the meeting that I was supposed to be conducting in a few minutes and go down and talk to my supervisor in tears because this woman was threatening to have my job because I had confiscated her baby's phone.
People can be ugly.
Because baby had it out during class, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. Not okay.
So, I mean, I knew my job wasn't in danger over it, but she just upset me. And I just needed to let it roll off. So some days I was capable of that and other days I was not.
Right.
So, okay. And the next section he goes into the one about when the professor calls the student in because his final exam was such poor quality. And the student just immediately starts about, oh, well, as soon as I knew you had seen me cheating, I went to pieces and blah, 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 blah. And the professor hadn't even seen him cheating.
Mm-hmm.
But he just completely outed himself. But just what I read in that section is operate with integrity. So you don't have to function with that fear of, am I going to get caught? Or am I going to get away with it?
Yeah.
So
I think
that's what resonated for me is just do everything with integrity. Do what you know was right all the time.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning about being able to do Facebook Lives or whatever I do live and videos. I'm doing it with integrity, whether you like it, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree, whether you got nuggets from it. I'm just coming from my heart and my honest thoughts. And so you don't have to like it for me to be okay with it. I posted a picture one time, a gym picture, and had a friend reach out to me and say, you should take that picture down. Those leggings are not very flattering on you. And I said, isn't that what makes me more relatable to people? Is that I'm not perfect and I'm not a fitness model. I'm just mom. And also some leggings look great with where the seams are and some don't. I'm not taking it down because that's just the leggings I wore today.
Mm.
And she was like, oh, I never thought of it like that. I just feel like you should put only put pictures up that you look good in. And I was like, well, that wouldn't be real life.
I don't always look good.
I don't always look good. And here's the thing, when I look good, I am very confident in how I look. My hair's done, my makeup's done, my outfit's great. But 95% of the time, I look just like this.
Same.
No makeup. Every time I get my hair cut, and they're like, how do you want us to style it? And I'm like, doesn't matter. It's going to be in a ponytail in an hour. I just needed to not look gray, really.
I just needed it cut. You don't worry about the rest, lady.
Just make me not look homeless.
Yeah. But it was so shocking to me when she was like, you really should take that picture down. You don't look, those leggings aren't very flattering. Okay.
Well, that's your opinion. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's the same body I had yesterday when I posted a picture in another pair of leggings. Same body. That's why I love some of those Instagram people will do like pose things where they're like pose and where they look super trim and fit, and then they'll do like where they just like pull the leggings down and show all their belly and be like, same person, you know? Be careful what you latch onto in pictures, because same
Mhm.
person,
Yeah.
same.
Yep.
Yep.
So, another story that I used to tell high school students talking about integrity and doing what's right is when I first started teaching, I was still working part-time for the B. Dalton bookstore because that's where I worked while I was going to school and getting my degree. And one morning on my way to school, I stopped at the credit union right down the street from me to cash my bookstore paycheck, which was not very big because I was only working like one evening a week at that point. It was not a big check. And I got the envelope back through the drive-through and immediately knew that there was too much money in it. And without even a second thought of, ooh, I could keep this, I just punched the button to call the teller and said, you gave me too much money. And, teenagers being who they are, were all, oh, I would have kept it. I would have kept it. And I was like,
Oh, well, you won't live with that long.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just it's the right thing. And then
Yeah.
you don't have to live with that feeling of looking over your shoulder all the time. Am I going to get caught? Is this going to catch up with me?
Yeah.
Just that guilt. And he even mentioned in this paragraph about, especially if you're working in sales, someday you may want to make a sale so badly you'll think of deliberately misleading the customer to buy, and you may succeed. But here's what will happen. Your guilty feeling will grab hold of you, and the next time you see your customer, you'll be self-conscious and ill at ease. See, there's that lack of confidence there because you did wrong.
Yeah.
So I starred that in the margin. I got all kinds of stars in this chapter.
Is a good
Stars
chapter.
everywhere. So, but as he says at the bottom of page 67, doing what's right keeps your conscience satisfied. And this builds self-confidence. When we do what is known to be wrong, two negative things happen. First, we feel guilt, and this guilt eats away confidence. Second, the other people sooner or later find out and lose confidence in us.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my packages from the Plexus buy and sell page, one of my packages, well, it didn't get misdirected. I made a mistake on the mailing label and put the address in wrong. And so it didn't get delivered. And the gal messaged me. And fortunately, I have a membership for UPS My Choice. And so I was able to contact UPS and make an address change on the package. It was one digit. I addressed it to 904 instead of 905. But she lives in Bryan, which is where Texas A&M is in Bryan College Station. And I asked her, I said, couldn't you just, wouldn't your neighbors just bring it to you? And she said, they're students. I don't know them.
Got it.
And so the package had already been attempted to be delivered, and they had apparently told the driver, this person doesn't live here anymore, because they didn't know the lady across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I contacted UPS and got the package redirected, and now it's been delivered. But I told her, I said, I was in such a fluster Saturday night. I said, because you don't know me and you sent me money and I was afraid of losing your trust. And she messaged me back and she said, no trust has been damaged. We're good.
Yeah.
And that was even before she got the package. So the package was delivered yesterday.
Yay.
Yay. So I was glad for that because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, just always do the right thing. Do the next right thing, the next right thing.
Every
Right?
time. Yep.
Okay. So, and then to speed this up just a little bit, because I see what time it is, then he goes into, we can change our attitudes by changing our physical actions and the 5 specific things to do. to be a front seater. And I can remember times in my life when I've been a front seater and times when I've been a back seater. I've sat down front versus sitting in the back. Actually, when I started back to school, back to college in my mid-20s, I started being a front seater instead of and I didn't ever go directly to the back, but I was always a blend in with the crowd kind of person. Let me sit in the middle somewhere where I'm just not, I could just blend in. But I started sitting in the front when I started back to school in my mid-20s. To be a front seater, practice making eye contact. This is what you mentioned earlier, Christy, walk 25% faster.
Yeah.
Practice speaking up. Y'all, teenagers mumble so bad. So bad. And they'll sit there like this and talk to you. Like this. And I'll say, move your hands away from your face. I can't understand you. So, but I think it is because they lack confidence in what they have to say.
Yes. they do.
Agreed.
They don't want to be made fun of by their peers either. And they're
'Cause
brutal.
I thought about this. I had less issue with this with the students who were in my pre-AP classes than students who were in my regular classes.
The AP kids are taught their whole life that they're smart. There's a psychological.
Yeah, sometimes they needed to be taken down a peg. Some of them.
Yeah.
So just because you handed something in doesn't mean it's perfect.
Right.
Anyway, and then the fifth one is smile big. Because that outward action has an inward effect.
I think it has a huge effect. I have bartended and waited tables for years. And there was a time when I bartended at a place for a pretty long time in a very affluent demographic. And we always joked at our bar that, like, you got a 10,000 square foot home. Does it not have a kitchen? Because these people ate dinner with us almost every night. But anyway, there were some that were not very nice, or just would speak down to us or whatever. And I was there, the time that I was there was while I was in grad school. And I was doing that to pay for grad school. But the manager one time pulled me aside. He goes, I think none of these people know that you're actually insulting them because you smile so big when you say it, because if people would be rude to me, you guys know me. I just say stuff back, but I would always be like, and he goes, you're smiling so big that they don't even hear the words. He goes, sometimes I'll see them like you've already walked away and their face will be like, and they'll realize what you said to them, but
yeah.
A smile can take you very far in life.
It's true.
There's, I don't know what I read it in. I think it might have been in Ed Milet's book, but there's actually now research to show, like, and I make my husband do it all the time because he's such a, pessimist. They like to call themselves realists, but, we'll get negative Nelly or upset or whatever. And they say if you'll go E, it actually, and hold it, the letter E, and hold it out, the motion your mouth has to go in to do that and to hold it tricks your body into thinking you're smiling, and it increases serotonin. And so I make him do that fairly regularly. And then he'll switch vowels, and I'm like, no, E, and he's just, and by the end of it, he's laughing. But it's a real thing, tricking your mind like.
It is.
There's a reason why they tell us to say cheese when you get a picture taken. Say cheese, cheese.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm going to try that on my husband.
Do it.
I think that was in
Was it something else? Was it a
I'm
speaker?
thinking it was a one of the monthly
Book
book
club?
clubs,
I don't know. Who
corporate
knows?
book club,
I mean, I didn't,
or
that's for sure.
a speaker at Super Saturday, maybe?
Could have been.
Because I remember hearing that too. Say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Hmm.
have action. So much to my husband's dismay.
Is he in the room with you?
No.
You keep looking up over the computer, and I'm not.
It's because I'm on my phone and my computer is behind me.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wondered. You're looking over the camera like there's someone that you're communicating with
No,
without
that was me
words.
deleting the Zoom thing so that this recording would actually record.
Ah, okay.
It finally came
Okay.
up.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think that's it for today. I will get the next batch of self-reflection questions posted, possibly not till tomorrow because I'm kind of wall to wall for the rest of the day,
Awesome.
but I will
Yeah.
get that done.
This was a great chapter.
It was.
Like,
I remember hearing when I was hearing the recommendations that came out of the diamond thing in March, and people were recommending this book, that I remember hearing that chapter 3 was really the big one. So I would be inclined to agree. I mean, I haven't read the other however many, but chapter 3, it's worth the price of admission.
for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Yay.
All right. Well, y'all have a good week, and we will talk again next week. Chapter
Okay.
4.
Chapter 4.
I'll
Alrighty.
see you tomorrow, Thursday, Christy.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Well,
Bye.